Good evening, everyone. Come on in, come on in. I'm Deborah Owens, and it is Wednesday, so that means it's Wealthy You Wind Down, and I am really excited about what we're going to be sharing with you this evening. Let's get folks settled, and this topic tonight is so important, and my guest this evening is amazing, amazing. If you ever attended our master class, then you may have had the pleasure of hearing some of the strategies that our special guest is going to share with us this evening. So come in, it's Wealthy You Wind Down. We're going to get our wine, our vino on, but I'm going to give everybody just a minute to get on in here. As you're coming in, though, I want to give some shout outs. So make sure that you're chatting it up in the chat so I can give you a warm welcome and a shout out in the chat. Let me know who you are and where you hail from so I can give you some shout outs. And in just a moment, we're going to bring our guest on. I'm going to introduce her. We've got a lot going on in Wealthy You. We are gearing up for 2022. And so in order to do that, we've got some events coming up that I'm going to talk about that are really going to give you a sense of the kinds of strategies and tactics that the women in Wealthy You use at this time of year. And actually, one of our events is really going to share one of our actual methods of preparing for the new year so that you can make a huge impact. Let me know who is ready to make 2022 their best year ever. Well, if you are, then you are in the right place. So let me give some shout outs. Who's me. That's right. Bridget is here. Who else is in the room? I see Vanessa Butler Johnson, who I had a wonderful, I'm looking forward to having renew and having some more wonderful conversations with her. Let's see, Diane Dawson from Silver Spring is in the house. Hey, Diane, good to see you here. Many of our Wealthy You members. Let's see, who else can I give a shout out to? Karen Ellington. Hey, Karen from Cincinnati. Denise from Baltimore. Joanne Bradley from California in the house. That's the really exciting thing about Wealthy You is that we have women from all over the country, all over the world, out of the country in some cases, tuning in. So good evening, everybody. It's Wealthy You Wind Down. So for those of you who don't know, and we're streaming on several different platforms. So shout out to YouTube and Facebook and wherever you're watching us from, welcome. So I'm Deborah Owens. I'm founder and CEO of Wealthy You. And that's where we are on a mission to help 1 million Black women build their first investment portfolios to 7 figures on. And what's the reason for that? The reason for that is because we know that we can fundamentally change the financial trajectory of our community by doing so. Because one of our beliefs is that the ability to build wealth is inherited. And the fact is, for many of us who didn't come from wealth, like myself, I just happened to have the good fortune of picking a career that gave me access to those strategies that I've been able to certainly pass on to my family. But what is most important and what my assignment is to now pay that forward. And so in Wealthy You, we have a community of women who are like-minded and who are forging their path to wealth together. And every Wednesday we come on to share with you the tactics and strategies and insight that is being shared in our community, but also to bring you some really cutting edge insights that will allow you to accelerate your financial growth and give you access to the information that I know many of you have never gotten access to. So with that, it is Wealthy You Wind Down, and I always start out by giving a toast. Grab your favorite glass of vino in the chat. Let me know, what are you drinking tonight? I am drinking a Cabernet Sauvignon from Napa, and if I'm not mistaken, it's a Sterling vintage. So at any rate, come on in, because we've got a lot to talk about. So before I even get started, what I do want to share with all of you is I want to make sure you register for our upcoming preview, sneak peek, as my wonderful social media manager has coined it. You can come in and actually experience. It's our gift to you during this holiday season, the ability to come in and experience the kinds of training and skill building that our Wealthy Youth Society and our other programs are able to experience. So you're going to want to make sure that you register to attend that event. But tonight, what I'm excited about is the topic. Because here's what I know, is that so much of the struggle of women being able to get access to higher level roles, to break it into that senior management role, that CEO suite, a lot of it has to do with not knowing the tactics and the strategies on how to get there. And you know, what I would say about my own career, and I had a pretty fast trajectory in a industry that was predominantly male. So much of it was intuition, but also along the way I had sponsors who really, when I wasn't in the room, was advocating for my promotions and for my success. And what I know after coaching thousands of women, so the reason that you don't hit those multiple six figures is because you don't know how. And that's why I'm a big advocate for coaching. And so our topic this evening, and I'm going to tell you, when our guest shared with me what her topic was going to be, I was like, oh, this is mind blowing. And so the topic, and here's what I want you to know, not only about the topic, but this woman walks the talk. She is founder of Intel Coaching Solutions. She's an executive coach, a speaker, and she's a strategic partner with Wealthy You. And the reason she's a strategic partner with Wealthy You is because you can't invest if you don't have the discretionary income to do so. And what I know, I have watched this woman coach women and double and, you know, to multiple six figures based on her own knowledge and insight. So how does she know how to do that? Because she accomplished it herself. Here's what I want you to know. Whenever you're looking for a coach, what you want to know is they bring the receipts, right? And so it's not enough for, you know, me to tell you all that I've accomplished. What I want you to see are receipts, and those receipts are the women who get results from Wealthy You. And so in this case, she has a stellar track record, and she understands that many women unknowingly have stifled themselves and kind of created their own invisible ceiling. Not that, you know, there aren't challenges or barriers to entry into some of these lucrative, high-paying roles, But what she really has the ability to do is give that insight and then coach women on exactly what they need to do in order to move to that next level. She uh, has had a stellar career, rapid promotions, and eventually the head of a global supply chain for a Fortune 500 company. She has led multi-million dollar campaigns, and she's worked with women in some of the top organizations, top Fortune 25, Fortune 100 companies in the world. And tonight, she is going to be sharing with us how you get to that 500. How she's going to show us the money, ladies, and she's going to show you how you get to that $500,000 in annual compensation. Now, I'm not talking about saving or building. I'm saying how you get to that compensation. And she is, with no further ado, Stella Agdawu, it is such a pleasure to have you again
Thank you so much.
in Wealthy Youth. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Hear you just fine.
Wonderful. This is why I don't hesitate. When you ask me to come in, it's like we're so aligned because everything that you've talked about, everything that you teach and you stand for is exactly aligned with what it is that I also believe. And I love when you said that, you can't invest what you don't have, right? And so for me, it's really important that if you're going to be doing the work in your corporate career, you're going to be working as hard as you are, that you are maximizing your compensation, right? And so that is why I just love it. I love everything that you've shared so far. And so what I want to do today is really, I think a lot of times when we think about career success, everyone thinks about like, what's the strategy, right? Give me the strategy, give me the 5-point strategy of what I need to do, and let me do it right now. And, my clients have heard me say this over and over again, it's who you're becoming, it's who you are that leads to the outcome. It's the transformation that happens in you as a woman that then leads to you becoming this powerful leader in the corporate, environment. And then that leads to you having the impact, the compensation, all the things that flow from that. Okay, so that's the energy that I want to come from in our conversation today. And so,
I love it.
Yeah, and so really, the way that I want to check in and see who's in the room first and foremost. You guys sound like you know a lot about me at this point, but I want to know more about you. How many people are in a corporate career currently?
Excellent. In the chat, let us know, ladies. Are you in the corporate arena? Do you have a professional role?
Okay, so I see a couple yeses. Okay. VP of HR. Okay. Okay. So we've got some of you who are corporate executives. Now, this will apply even if you're not a corporate executive, even if you're doing something else, maybe you're an entrepreneur. All of these things apply. And I often say the skills that you need to do corporate are the same skills that you need to do something else. It's who you're being, right? And so I want to talk about the mindset of a woman who makes $500,000 in total comp in her corporate career, right? What kind of woman is that? Who is she? And what I really want you to do as we have this conversation is think about who you've been in the last 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, and see where your opportunity lies. This is not about perfection. It's not about checking all the boxes. It's about saying, okay, where have I not quite shown up the way that I would need to in order to command that kind of compensation? Okay, so I'm going to share with you some points here, and I want you to write those down. But again, assess yourself, audit yourself, and see where there is a gap and an opportunity for you. Okay. Now, before I give you these points, let's talk a little bit about what mindset is, and I'm sure you guys are familiar with the term, but just to share my perspective on it and reground us on that. The mindset is really what you believe about yourself, about others, and about the world. What you believe about yourself, about others, and about the world. Okay. And oftentimes when the mindset's not exactly where it needs to be, you may never say these words out loud. You may never verbalize it. You may never articulate it with anyone. In fact, you may be saying the opposite. But if your actions and your results are not where you want them to be, the first place to look is, what is the mindset? What do I believe about myself, about others, and about the world? Okay. And I mean, again, you could have the best strategy, you can have all the to-dos, and not be able to execute it effectively because the mindset isn't there. All right. So now let's
Stella, can
talk
I
about,
say something really quickly? That's
yes,
why
please.
I know we're so aligned, right? Because the wealthy you framework is mindset, then strategy, then execution, right? And so, that mindset really is about your attitudes, which are your beliefs, and then lead to your behaviors. And so that is why this information is so critical and so aligned. So I'm sorry, I was like, here we go again. But go right ahead.
I love it. I love it. Okay. So here's the thing. You guys have probably heard a lot about mindset, but what I find is that oftentimes people don't dive deep enough into what is this mindset, right? That I need to have, right? We use the word mindset and it's kind of a catch-all, but what exactly is the mindset? And what are those principles that I need to have if I want to be at this level? Okay. So the first principle, the first mindset principle, and there are 8 of them that I'm going to give you today. The first one is a strong belief in abundance.
Mm.
A strong belief in abundance. Let me tell you why that's really important for what we're talking about today. If you want to make $500,000 in total comp, you have to believe that there is $500,000 to be made. Okay. I can't tell you how many times I will speak to somebody, let's say someone's doing, I don't know, director of accounting. And I'll say, well, how much money do you make right now? And they'll say, I'm, making 120 or 125. And I say, okay, how much money do you want to make? And they'll say, maybe 180, something a little bit higher than where they are now, but not that much higher. And I'll say, well, based on what you've told me and based on where you are, you really should be at 250, 300. Like, here's where you really should be headed. And they start arguing with me. Meanwhile, I've just spoken to somebody else doing the exact same job with less experience who has surpassed that number. So it starts with whether you even believe this is possible. Do you even
Well,
believe?
you know what, Stella, I just want to ask you this because I really feel like that belief system has to do with you even knowing that's possible. Like if you have never interacted with a woman like yourself, right, who is earning that type of compensation, then it's not real to you. That's something that happens to somebody else, not to me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When you look around you, if you've never seen that happen, for some of us, depending on the homes that we grew up in and what we saw, if that kind of compensation was not there, it can be difficult to believe instantly that you can have that, which is why surrounding yourself with the right people and having these conversations is so important, right? And so knowing and believing that this is even happening, this is even out there. I remember when COVID first hit, we had people who was, the news was talking about how all the offers were getting rescinded and factories are being closed and all this stuff was happening and unemployment numbers are through the roof. And I was like, let me just go on LinkedIn and see how many people are hiring director and above level roles in all these there were 2,500 jobs posted daily in certain sectors. So again, it depends on what you believe. It really does depend on what you believe. If you believe that this isn't for me, this is for somebody else, this doesn't happen for someone like myself, then it's a non-starter. It's like we can't even have the next level of conversation because that belief isn't there. A woman who has a strong belief in abundance is unwilling to accept just any old offer or any old compensation because she knows there's more. She knows there's more. This applies when you're going to negotiate. If you wanted to go in and negotiate right now, you have to know that money is there and available, because if you don't, it will stifle even the number that you ask for, right? The number that you ask. I remember coaching a direct report of mine on how to ask me for more money, right? And that's really how Intel was founded, because I found myself sort of stepping out of character as her manager and coaching her on how you actually go about this, right? So strong belief in abundance is key. And at some point it can sound cliche, but you have to ask yourself, what do I really believe? What do I really
So in
believe?
the chat, I think that is like tantamount, like the most, one of the most important aspects that you're starting with is key. And so in the chat, I want and let's be honest, ladies, because this is a community where we can be transparent. In the chat, yes or no, do you think that it is possible for you to earn compensation of $500,000 annually? In the chat, let me see. Yes or no, ladies?
I love it. A lot of yeses. A lot of yeses. I love it because that's where it starts. That's where it starts. And if you're not even sure, you want to catch like, what am I actually saying? Have I ever found myself saying, no one's going to pay that? That's way above market. If you find yourself using that kind of language, that's a sign that you want to go back and examine what you believe. Okay. So that's number one. Number two, again, we're talking about the mindset principles of the woman who makes $500,000 in her corporate career. Number two is a deep knowledge in who she is and what she wants. Knowledge
Gotta expand on that.
of who she is and what she wants. Okay. When in the work that we do in our program, Deb, we don't go very far without defining what it is that we want. I'm sure you do the same thing in your programs as well. Like, what do you want in your entire life? Like, what do you want your career to be? What kind of job do you want to do? How much money do you want to make? You know, what kind of impact do you want to make? Like, defining all those elements and getting crystal clear is so important.
And that's exactly what the wealthy vision is about, is creating your wealthy vision. That's where it all starts.
Yes.
And so I so get this, but go right ahead.
And I'll give you an example that illustrates this. We have a client recently who was a senior manager, well compensated, worked for a big 3 tech company. So she was doing great. She was doing great in her career, well over the 6-figure mark, and quite young in her career, was doing excellent. And we were working to get her to director, right, doubling her base salary. And an offer came. Somebody offered her a role through the work that we're doing. They wanted to keep her at senior manager. They wanted to pay her a little bit more money, but not quite what she wanted. She wanted to have direct reports. They didn't want to give that to her. And we said no. We said no. This is what we want. And do you know, they created the role that she wanted for her precisely exactly as we'd asked for it. We wrote down exactly what she wanted in comp, not just her base salary, but equity, right? Her all the different benefits, the level of benefits, the 401k, the comp, all the different perks that she wanted. We wrote it all out and they said, done, right? But had she not known what she wanted, and better yet, had she not asked for it, she wouldn't have taken it. The offer was great. It was more money than she was currently making, right? Anybody else would be like, okay, well, this looks good. But we got really clear on what her next opportunity was going to be. And she was unwilling to accept anything but that. I see way too many women being they're, kind of, okay, well, maybe this, but maybe not that. And if you keep going back and forth like that, you'll accept anything. And this is why we leave so much money on the table. We leave so much potential on the table because we don't believe that we're qualified or we're worth it or we're good enough to, define what we want and to stand by that. Okay. So this is a really important one. You'll get the lowball offer, but do you accept it? Or do you say, nope, that is not in line with what I want? And one thing that I find to be really important here is when you make a certain amount of money already, right? When your basic needs are met, your bills are paid, and you're doing okay for the most part, it can be easier to sort of take your foot off the gas because that drive and that push that you had to get over a certain hump has already been achieved. So I see a lot of women when they hit 200, 250, they say, okay, well, I'm kind of doing all right.
They settle, right?
Yes.
And what I would say too, Stella, I really believe that we are a product of our environment, and that's why being in the right environment And the fact is, we literally, our socioeconomic status is based on the people, 5 people we spend most of our time with. And so in order to go to that next level, we have to put ourselves in the right circle. And that's not about being exclusive or, not wanting to or thinking you're better than anyone else, because I think I know for me and how I was raised, that's a big aspect of it. But it is just understanding that nothing grows in the comfort zone. Nothing.
Mm-mm.
No growth, right? And so you cannot be the smartest person in the room, and you have to position yourself and stretch yourself so that you can position yourself for opportunity.
Yes, absolutely. And like it's again, when you're doing well already, it can be easy to say I've arrived. But what I challenge our clients to do is what more is possible? Even if, and people will say, well, you know what? I don't need any more money.
I don't want the
I already,
stress, or I don't want this, right? When you can have the same level of stress at 200 that you can at 400. In
absolutely.
fact, because you don't have, sort of the flexibility, if you will, that more compensation gives you, right? It can be even more stressful.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So again, get clear on what you want. Again, these are simple concepts, and they on the face of them, they look really simple. But ask yourself, when was the last time I got really clear on what I wanted in my career? Not even just the money, right? The money is important, but even like, what do I want to be doing? What kind of impact do I want to make? All of those details matter, right? So that is number two, a deep knowledge in who she is and what she wants. Let's move to number three. Number three is an unwavering confidence in herself and her ability to lead and affect change. Again, talking about $500,000 in corporate, if you're going to be that woman who's commanding that kind of compensation, you need an unwavering confidence in yourself and in your ability to lead and affect change. You need to understand that what you bring to the table is valuable, okay? And that you are there to drive change. I see a lot of cases. I mean, some of the work that I do involves consulting with companies as well, not just individuals. And I'll hear from HR teams that, they'll hire somebody who's come from this really great background. Maybe I'm talking to a smaller, maybe startup company. They've brought someone from a big 3 tech company or a big 4 accounting firm. They bring them on for all that expertise. But when this person comes in, they're quiet. They don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to say too much. They don't want to change up anything. They don't want to, and people are like, but they're picking and choosing when they, and so when you have that unwavering confidence in yourself and your ability to drive change, that is an essential element to get into that level in your career. Okay. You have to realize that you are not just there to go with the tide and go with the flow. You are there to lead. You are there to lead and affect change.
Well, let's talk about leadership, because, one of the aha moments that I had in one of your sessions, at your masterclass presentation, Stella, was the concept you were putting forth is that your compensation rises with the level of responsibility and the level of reports that you have coming to you. And I just had this aha moment and recognized that every time I made leaps in compensation, it was directly correlated to the number of people and that reported to me, and that the responsibility I had to the P&L.
I'm so glad you brought that up. That's such an important point, because here's how I think that really applies to many of you who are in corporate. I see this endlessly. Okay, so let's say now that you're in HR and you spent 10 years, 15 years in your career doing benefits and comp, right? That's sort of your lane in HR. And you've done that for the last 10 or 15 years. And really, your goal is that you want to get to CHRO. You want to be chief HR officer ultimately. I see a lot of people who think, well, I've only done benefits and comp, so I'm going to just move up only in that one lane. I can't lead others who are doing other parts of HR, talent acquisition, performance management. I can't lead in those other areas because I only know this. The reality is that corporate is shaped like a pyramid, which means that you'll have fewer people at the top who are leading people of multiple expertise, some of which you won't have yourself. I want you to hear me when I say that. You won't have all of the expertise of the people who you are leading. I
Nor
see,
should you.
nor exactly.
Okay, nor should you, because, and here's what I think is a very important insight into the work that you do, Stella, and that is it's not the how, it's the who. And so when you go up in responsibility into leadership role, your sole responsibility is picking the right people on the team with the expertise, and you will be rewarded based on your ability to identify and hire talent, people to do the work, and you will be penalized if you are doing the work yourself. And
Yes,
this, I think, is a very, very important insight for women to understand.
absolutely. And it, because here's the thing, if you're doing the work of the level below you, guess what's not getting done? Your job as leader. Those relationships that need to be built across there, that's the work that's not getting done because you're in the weeds, right? So it's these are the things. But here's even what I think, even before we get to that, is a lot of people are not even applying for that next level role because they're thinking, this is the only pillar I don't have experience in talent acquisition and recruiting. I don't have experience in also how can I lead at this level. I'm here to let you know that you don't have to have the experience, 10 years experience across all the other functions. You'll be there 50 years trying to do just that. It's really about leveraging the experience that you do have, right? But knowing that your job as a leader is to lead people, lead processes, and affect change. It is not to be in the weeds trying to do all the things by yourself. So that's a very important point. Again, we're talking about the mindset principles to get to $500,000. All right.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Let me just level set for those of you who've just come into the room or are joining this conversation. Joined it a little late. I want to let you know who is in the room, who our conversation is with. I'm Deborah Owens. I'm founder and CEO of Wealthy You, where we teach women how to build their first investment portfolios to seven figures and beyond. And our guest on Wealthy You Wind Down this evening is Stella I always pray, I'm trying to get your name.
Odogu.
Ado,
Odogu.
Adowu. And she is founder of Intel. It's Intel.us, right?
That's
And
correct.
it is a coaching and executive coaching and leadership firm. And her specialty is helping women get paid what they're worth and helping women do 4 5x their compensation so they can live the lead and live the type of lives that they deserve. And we're talking about how you get to that 500K in compensation, and it's all about mindset, and she's sharing those mindset strategies with us. So do continue,
Yeah.
Stella.
But Carolyn just put something in the chat that I really love because she shares a story of her basically being in the weeds and doing the work of somebody else, something that she didn't need to be doing. And I think sometimes as women, like we're the fixers. We want to go in there and do all the things and fix it. I remember my mom used to say, if you want something done, do it yourself. So there's this conditioning that we've had for so long that we kind of need to shake, right? If you want to do this. So I love that you share that, Carolyn. Thank you so much for putting that in the chat. Okay, so let's move on to number 4. Again, number 3 was an unwavering confidence in herself and her ability to lead change. Number 4 is an obvious comfort level with the spotlight.
That's
An
good.
obvious comfort level with the spotlight.
To define what you mean, why you defined it as obvious.
Because it needs to radiate. It needs to radiate that you're not shying away from the spotlight. I hear a lot of times people are like, well, I don't want to be, I don't mind doing the work. I don't mind being behind the scenes and doing the work, but I don't want to necessarily be the one presenting the information. And I've had team members of mine who I was trying to promote. But those of you who are in corporate, you know, if you're a leader trying to promote your team, it's a lot easier to do that when other people are also buying into that decision, right? When you have alignment with your peers and your leadership, it makes it a lot easier to sell. And I've had team members who say they want a promotion, but when they have the opportunity to present something on a bigger stage at a global level, they don't want it. All the excuses come out, right? You have to have an obvious comfort level with the spotlight. You almost have to seek it out, right? Especially if you work for a large behemoth company, global matrix organization, you really need to be comfortable with the spotlight.
Absolutely, because here's what I want women to understand is that exposure is 90% of success, right? Like if people don't know who you are, what you do, what your capabilities are, then they don't know how to help you or identify you as a leader and someone who can represent the organization and take on more responsibility.
Absolutely. I mean, my manager literally said those words to me earlier in my career. I learned this lesson the hard way. I was right. I was ready for promotion. I was a supply chain professional. I saved the company more money than most of my peers. I thought I'd earned it and I deserved it. And somebody else got the promotion instead of me. And my manager, in his own clumsy way, said to me, nobody knows you yet, Stella. Like
Yeah.
nobody knows who you are. I mean, he could have said it better, but the point was, you really haven't been visible. You've been doing the work. I know you've been doing the work, but I didn't get any support at a certain level for that promotion. Now, when he told me that, I didn't do any work for 2 weeks. I was defiant. I was angry. I was upset. But after I processed, right, got my feelings out of the way and processed, I was like, he's absolutely right. Okay. So you really need to have that obvious comfort level. And with everything that I'm sharing with you today, there are levels to it. So you may think, yep, I've been visible and I've been presenting, but what's the next level of visibility for you? Maybe
Mm.
you've been visible with your peers and even your manager or skip level, but have you been visible globally, right? To the other regions, to the other offices? Like, what's the next level of visibility, and how can you?
And you know, one insight I want to give that I think is very, very useful, and it is not just in that corporate setting either. You know, I know a lot of people go to work and they go home, but what you don't understand is so much of that exposure and that relational, what do I want to call it, currency
Mhm,
that you
mhm.
need for other leaders to sponsor you and advocate for you when you're not in the room will happen when you go out for drinks or you go to a company outing or the company's doing there's some kind of volunteer philanthropic thing that the company is behind, and so you volunteer to be on that committee, because what you don't realize is that your other senior managers are in that role too. They know the currency that it gives them, and then it will allow you to have some kind of relationship with form those kind of relationships with people outside of your purview, so that you're now being exposed in other departments, other divisions. That's how you build currency outside of just your own kind of purview.
Yes, absolutely. Now I see a comment here that deals are made on the golf course. See, I didn't play golf. But I ran, I used to run, we had run club. And so I got to meet with leaders that way. I also taught Zumba because I'm certified Zumba instructor. So I had senior executive leaders who had zero rhythm, but they were in my Zumba class. So my point is, you don't have to be inauthentic. I think I hear this a lot of times, Stella, do I have to change, all these different things about myself to be here? I don't think you have to. People say, do I have to change my hair? You don't have to change any of those things. You need to find the right environment for you, be yourself, but then be in the spotlight as yourself,
And,
as
and,
yourself.
and I think something you bring up is so critical, and it's what I really believe in, is that we all have certain opportunity levers, and they are a function of our experience and the gifts and talents that we have and that we've honed. And so you can then take those gifts and skills and talents and use them. They might not be directly correlated to whatever your professional expertise is, but you certainly can bring those into as assets into an organization, and it really differentiates you. So it's not what makes you the same, it was what makes you different, that you can come to the table with confidence,
That
and
part.
that radiation that allows you to radiate because you're comfortable and you're confident in something that you already have mastered.
Absolutely. That's it. That's it. And somebody says, share how this works for an entrepreneur. Everything that we've covered so far, whether you're in corporate or an entrepreneur, it applies. It really doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, if you're, talking about comfort level with the spotlight, I mean, what better, what better point, right? How are people going to know what you offer and how you're different from others if you are hiding behind the shadows, if you are not shouting
Absolutely.
it from the rooftops?
Absolutely. And so exposure is 90% of it, right? So you've got to be streaming, you've got to be going to networking events, you've got to be, pursuing speaking engagements through which you can attract people. And it's not about always selling anything. What it is about is adding value. What unique perspective can you create value with for others that then is going to attract them to you? I really believe that's the point that you're making, Stella.
Absolutely, definitely. Okay, let's move on to number 5. Again, we're talking of the 8 mindset principles that you need if you're going to be a woman making $500,000 in total comp in your corporate career. Okay, number 5 is a limited focus on the opinions of those who do not matter.
Say it again.
Okay, a
Say it.
limited focus on the opinions of those who do not matter. This
Yes.
one, I'm telling you, this is it, okay? So many people are regurgitating the opinions of people who have never done the thing that you're wanting to do. They're not in the arena, okay? And you are making their opinions matter. Now, this is not to say that you can't love them and that they don't love you and all of that, right? But if this person has never done the thing or anything that's similar, has never climbed to a similar height in their business or their career, what business do you have making their opinions the focal point of your decision making, right? It doesn't make any sense.
And
So,
that comes back to your circle, right? And you really have to surround yourself with people who really validate and advocate for you moving to the next level. If you have somebody whispering in your ear, well, why do you want to do that? Well, oh, you're doing well right where you are. It's because they're afraid that you'll move beyond what their comfort zone is. So this is critical.
yes, I remember personally, this was something I encountered even in my career. I remember when I was up for director, my manager saying to me, why are you in such a hurry? You're not, I wasn't 30 yet. He's like, you're not 30 yet. Why are you in a hurry to be director? And I'm like, okay, so okay, I'm glad you said that because now I see where you're coming from, and I see that this isn't about my skill set or my visibility. This is about something completely different. This is about you didn't make director by 30, so
There you go.
why should I make the director by 30? So again, I'm not going to make my career trajectory linked to your limiting beliefs about my age, right? And so this is the importance of this. A lot of times we are holding on to people's opinions, which is rooted in their own disbelief and their own limiting beliefs and their limiting thoughts. And yes, they may love you and they may even claim to want the best for you, but they may not know how that needs to happen. And so,
We have a great comment in the chat, and it's from Stacy, who says, "I have a hard time changing my circle. I recognize that the circle I'm in is not helping me get where I want to be, the negative and doubters, but I haven't figured out how to find a new circle." You
mm,
know,
Well,
what are
first of all, you're in the circle now. So somebody, I mean, I don't know how you guys do this, but somebody needs to reach out to Stacy, trade phone numbers, text each other. Literally, this is where it happens. You are in a circle right now. Right now. Somebody private message her, connect. This is what it's about.
Absolutely. Make sure, Stacy, I hope you are a part of the Wealthy You community of like-minded women who are literally changing their lives and their families' lives because they're being exposed to the kind of insight that you're hearing from Stella this evening. Last week we had 2 weeks ago we had Jamila Payne, who's also a part of our circle, and she was dropping wisdom. So, what I would say to you, Stacy, is finding that new circle is going to require you to invest your time, your talent, and sometimes even make a commitment in dollars. The reason Stella and I know each other is because we invested in a program of women who are changing the world. And that's what you find is that the more the higher it goes, typically the higher the investment, but the higher the caliber of person because they're vibrating on the same wavelength that you are, one of abundance, not fear, not afraid to step out of their comfort zone and make an investment in your own future, knowing that in order for you to get to the next level, someone has to take you there. All this insight that Stella is giving us this evening is a part of her organization and her coaching. Now she's just given you like a teeny half a teaspoon. Imagine if you had someone like Stella really vested in your success and giving you the blueprint and how to do that. That's what I want to say. I just got to take a moment to say, I had a lot of conversations today, and I was really taken aback by, and I have been taken back by women's I'm going to say women inability to bet on themselves, unwillingness to bet on themselves. They'll bet on everybody, they'll take care of everybody, but when it comes to seeking out and investing in a person that can literally compress the time that it's going to take you to figure, and half the time you're not going to be able to figure it out because you're not going to be in the right, I could go on about that. But Stacy, you bring up a very good point. And the reason why Stella is here tonight is because of our unwavering commitment to helping people get to the next level, to exposing them to the kind of insights they've never been exposed to. But you got to lean in on it, and you cannot be afraid.
Yes.
Please, Stella, I'm sorry. I know.
No, it's so important. I love that you said that. One of our clients just said to me recently, she said, Stella, because of you, I have literally in my phone women who make 100K, 200K above where I am. And we're friends. Like this isn't just like, oh, we're in the community. Like we're actually building friendships because that's what it's about. And so but it starts in these rooms. It starts in programs like these. This is how you start to build that bond. But it is really, really important that you are in the right room with the right people. So again, we're talking about the mindset principles. We've covered.
Where are we at? 5 or 6?
Yep. We're almost done. We've covered 1 through 5. Let's go to number 6. Number 6 is a healthy appetite for risk. You want to make $500,000 in your career, whatever it is that you want to do, you got to take risk. You have to have a healthy appetite for calculated risk. Okay. Throughout my career, the only way actually that I've been able to catapult the way that I did was by taking risk. It's by knowing, okay, I don't know how this will all turn out. I don't know exactly what this will lead to, but I know enough to know that I'm going to step forward and do this, right? I see a lot of us who are not taking risk, because we want to know exactly how it's going to turn out,
We
down
want a
to,
sure thing.
we want a sure thing. We want a
We
sure
want
thing.
a sure thing.
You know,
Listen, yeah, I mean, you never lose. This
yep.
is what I want ladies to understand. You are so afraid. You are so busy holding on to what you have. That's that limiting belief. You feel like if you lose that, then what do you have? Listen, you never lose. You either win or you learn,
Yep.
right? And by not taking the risk, you do, you know, some of the most important things I have ever learned have been from failing,
Mm.
right? Because I don't like to fail. The first time I ever spoke into a room of 300 people, I couldn't find my voice. My knees were shaking. And I came off that stage, and my boss said to me, he said, Deb, you were great. And I'm
Mm.
going to say, you know what? I know you're one of my big supporters, but I was not great, but that will not happen again. And I said I was going to be the best speaker ever. And I went and took a public speaking class, Dale Carnegie, and every presentation that had to be made, I made until I got just, and I make a living at speaking. This is what I want you to understand, is that you need to take that risk. You need to fail because you need to feel the pain, because the pain of that is going to say, woo, never again. What do I need to do so that'll never happen to me again? And that, my friend, is the kind of energy that you need to bring to every risk that you take, knowing that on the other side of it, you're going to be better off. I'm here to
Absolutely.
tell you.
Yes. I mean, it plays a part in everything, even in your job, like in your day-to-day job as a leader. There are going to be decisions that you need to make that you don't know how it's going to turn out, right? And so this isn't just about, overall career. It's about like, how are you navigating every day? Are you the person who's always waiting for the sure thing, or are you willing to take calculated risk? And somebody highlighted the importance of calculated. I agree, but I think what happens is we don't even calculate the risk. For me, it's about, I always ask myself, is there more upside potential than downside potential? Is there more upside potential than downside potential? And usually there is so much more upside potential than any downside potential that could ever happen.
And typically, I mean, that's how I know we're so aligned, because the third, the wealthy mindset and wealthy you is problems are opportunities, and we look for them. And those are where the possibilities are, right? There is possibility and volatility. And typically, the greater the upside potential, the greater the potential risk, right? But what you have to understand is that it is in the building of resilience, it is in recovery from whatever that risk that you took that didn't turn out the way that it does. It's all about how you bounce back from it, it's the response from it. That's why it's important. You're a runner, and building that muscle. When you first start running, you're exhausted, but every time you do it, you get stronger at it. Ladies, that is the point. If you want something different, you have got to be willing to deal with the pain, because no pain means no growth. And that's a fact,
I
right?
love it.
That's a fact.
Yes. You put a fine point on that. I don't think I could add anything else to that one. I think you brought that one home, Deb. So
Okay.
risk is so important. Just really embracing that in your career is a critical one. Let's go to number 7. Number 7 is an awareness of her boundaries and finite resources, which is your time and your energy. You have a finite amount of time and energy, and you have to understand the value of that. Okay. Because again, a lot of people say, well, I don't know if I want to climb all the way to the top because I'm going to sacrifice my well-being, and I'm not going to have any time, and I'm not going to have any. It's really about making that a priority and understanding the value of your time and your energy, and knowing where that time and energy needs to be spent and where it doesn't need to go. Knowing how to delegate, how to automate, how to outsource, right? And delete the things that don't even need to be done in the first place. But when you have an understanding of your finite resources, right, that makes you such a powerful you are formidable in the corporate world. But if you are the yes woman to everything that comes, you can't really filter and discern, you will burn out. Quite frankly, you will burn out, and it won't even matter if you get to that number. You won't really be able to maximize and enjoy it. Number 7 is an awareness of her boundaries and her finite resources. Okay. And last but not least is number 8, a profound recognition of her worth beyond her accomplishments. This is kind of the cherry on top, right? You are worthy even beyond any accomplishments. Your accomplishments don't define you. We talked on my podcast recently about, why you may have felt nothing after your last promotion. Sometimes we'll have people say, well, I got the promotion, but I didn't really feel the elation that I thought I would. Well, it's because you need to be cultivating joy and happiness in your life outside of the promotion. If you don't have that already, the promotion is not what's going to give it to you, right? And so understanding your worth isn't just the things that you've accomplished in your career, is an important element to all of this. Okay. So
You
again,
are not your job. You know
no,
what? In the comments, someone wants to explain calculated risk. And so here's what I want everybody to understand about calculated risk. The way you de-risk is with knowledge, right? So what is important to take calculated risk is that you have evaluated the situation, looked at what is the upside potential and what is the downside risk. And based on evaluating all the criteria, I mean, that's one of the things you learn in Wealthy You learn how to analyze and research. We have a process for everything. I know people want to speculate and they want to say, well, I know Bitcoin's going to be here or there. That is speculation. Taking calculated risk means that you have evaluated the criteria and that you have criteria through which to evaluate, and then based on that you make a decision. You don't make an emotional decision. You take calculated risk because you've evaluated the environment and the situation. And so I hope that was helpful, Valerie. But please, I know that we're running out of time. We probably should have stopped at 8:45. I know, but I know that, you were able to go over some of this information. As I told all of you, what Stella is giving you is just a thumbnail of all of the amazing, amazing insight and work that she does. But I also know that you have something coming up where folks can really dig a little deeper into these concepts that you've been espousing. So if you could, Stella, just tell folks how that they can get involved in your next one of your
yes, I'd be happy to. So we have our upcoming Catapult Your Career 5-day boot camp. Starts on Monday. And yes, it's 5 days, but it's really 45 minutes a day. So it's not the whole day, right? But if you have, like Deb said, this is really, we're limited on time. I gave you a little taste, but if you want to take, I truly believe that everyone here can make $500,000 and above in their corporate career. But I want you to make that not just possible, but probable and even inevitable, right? And that is what we do in the bootcamp, completely free. All right. Starts on Monday at noon Eastern, about 45 minutes a day. I will teach you the exact skills, strategies that you need to accelerate your career, to catapult your career so that you can have the money, you can have the impact and the well-being simultaneously. So that's what we're covering starting Monday, December 6th. If you are interested, the link is thecatapultbootcamp.com.
Sabrina, if you could put that in the chat, thecatapultbootcamp.com.
Yep.
Yes, as you know what, Stella, you just blow my mind every time. When we talk with each other, we just realize how aligned we are. I have to say how grateful I am of all the things that you've poured into this community. And I want all of the women here to understand that, you cannot continue to work on your own strength and expect to achieve anything of any significance. No one accomplishes anything on their own. And you can measure a woman's success but by her ability to ask for help. And so I'm just so grateful when I call on you to, participate in the work that we're doing here. You're right there. Thank you so much for coming on. Ladies, don't sleep on it. I mean, what we try to do in Wealthy You is really bring you remarkable women, remarkable resources, remarkable tools that can fundamentally change your life. And I certainly think that you would all agree that Stella certainly enriched all of our lives this evening. Just to let you know what's going on in Wealthy You, register if you're not a part of the Wealthy You community. Make sure that you join our free group on Facebook. We have a preview, kind of an open house coming up on December 7th. To learn more, you want to make it, it's registration, so you have to register in order to attend, but you'll get some real insight into that same type of calculated evaluation of risk that our members are afforded. And then I love what Stella said earlier, and it's the importance of vision. And as you were saying that, I was thinking about the King Richard movie. If you haven't seen Will Smith's movie, and there was a scene where the one of the coaching organizations had made an offer to Serena and Venus about what he would do for them. And their father came back and he had this whole list of written plan about what he wanted for his girls. And it included a house, included training, it included a job for him. And do you know, when he gave that plan, he got exactly what he asked for. And that's the point that Stella made today, is that nothing happens without a plan, right? And so in Wealthy You, our framework is mindset, and she gave us a litany of them today. Strategy, right? And that's why you need to join her challenge. That's why you need to join the upcoming event. But our last event for the year is our Wealthy You 2022 Vision Party. And you're going to be exposed to the exact plan that the members in the blueprint that the members in Wealthy You develop as they create and execute on their blueprint to achieve seven figures and beyond. So I want to make sure that you take advantage of that as well. Stella, I can't thank you enough. Everybody in the comments, in the chat, how did Stella bring us some really gems that will pay return for years to come? And I just want to really thank you again for coming on Wealthy You Wind Down this evening.
Thank you so much for having. It's always a pleasure, Deb. Anytime.
Awesome. Well, that's going to do it for us this evening, ladies. Again, if you're wherever you're viewing this from, join us in the Wealthy You Community Facebook group, and we look forward to connecting with you once again on Wealthy You Wind Down. That's going to do it for me this evening. I'm Deborah Owens. I'm founder and CEO of Wealthy You, where we help women build their first investment portfolios to seven figures and beyond.